Well, good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island area fishing report for Saturday, May the 20th. Hey, the Bassmaster Elite Series is done at Lay Lake. We're going to wrap that up a little bit. The Bass Pro Tour is going on right now at Lake Guntersville. We're going to talk that with Tom Ott, but we'll be right back with what Tom, Lee, Gentry, and Josh have to say. Well, good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island area fishing report for Saturday, May the 20th. Hey, we are back after Fish Fest and the Elite Series on Lay Lake. Right now, we're going to check in with Tom Ott, who's going to talk a little bit about what those Bass Pro Tour guys are doing up there at Guntersville. Man, we've seen a dirty 30. We've seen a bunch of heavy 20s caught. What are these guys doing out there, and what are you seeing out of Guntersville?
Man, I'm telling you, Dano, we knew they were going to catch them. I mean, they catch them everywhere they go. But, I mean, this week is just something phenomenal. That you can go shallow and you can catch them. And I think around these brim beds and things like that, these guys are wacky rigging and catching their 20-pound bags. But I think those big sacks are really coming offshore. It looks like the fish are making that big push out there. Just, it seems to increase a little bit at a time. But there's more and more fish getting out there, and these guys are figuring out the way to catch them. Not much currents being pulled, a lot of floating grass, but looks like a couple of them, even a couple of, if you want to call them locals, are really wearing them out there. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Well, what I'm seeing on the offshore stuff is that guys are going big. I'm seeing big plugs. I'm seeing big spoons. I'm seeing some big swim baits on the decks of these boats. Is that what you have to do offshore to get those quality bites?
Well, Dano, when the fish first get there, they're really active. After a while, and people are idling over them, they kind of slow down. I see these guys throwing a little bit of, some finesse stuff, and that's okay. You're definitely going to catch some fish, but man, those big flutter spoons, big crankbaits, things like that, those fish are real aggressive right now, especially the ones that just got out there. I mean, those are big post spawn fish, eating hardy, and yeah, absolutely. That's anything you can do to trigger a strike, get that school fired up. Once you get that happening, it's just Katie bar the door.
So what they need to look for is little shell bars and stuff like that are maybe on the upstream or downstream points of next to the main channel, maybe some creek stuff, but they're going to have to move around a bit, and they're going to find smaller schools, right? Not big, giant 100-fish schools.
Absolutely. But I think that those fish are coming. I talked to a guy the other day that said, he saw 15 in the morning. By the end of the day, he had 40 there, and he was expecting even more the next morning. So that's a pretty big push. So absolutely. I mean, these fish are moving up and down that river ledge, but they're going to make the stops where the bait is, where those hard points are, those shell beds, those kind of things. And, those shell beds have a tendency to change shape a little bit. And with the eelgrass pulling, you got a lot more hard bottom out there to fish this year.
Well, Tom, as always, brother, we appreciate it. Good luck up there at Pickwick. We'll love to hear back from you. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island area fishing report for Saturday, May the 20th. Hey, we're joined by Lee Pitts, who I saw a big fish that he put in the boat up on Neely Henry. Let's talk about Neely Henry, Lee. What's happening over there on our favorite body of water?
I'm going to tell you something. Now, this week I've got some good news all the way around. It's the fishing has really picked up, even though I'll start with this, even it being the tail end of kind of our prime time for crappie, still catching some fish. Some of these fish have backed out at Neely on the brush piles and the stumps out there deep and doing some dock shooting. I really like to do that dock shooting. Really, we're catching more fish on the docks right now than we have been during prime time.
You're catching some crappie on the docks, which is kind of the favorite thing to do for me when it comes to crappie fishing. I love it. Kind of feels like flipping for bass around docks. How big are you seeing? What kinds of fish are you seeing?
The fish we're seeing, most of them are post spawn, but still you're looking at some 11, 12, every now and then some 14-inch fish. So that's some good quality fish right now, for especially this time of year. I mean, it's some really good fish.
So what about the bass bite on Neely? I saw that good one that you caught. What's working best there?
I think with the weather that we've had this week, most of the time when we bring up our weather, it's a bad situation. This has been really, really good for bass fishing. Little cloud cover, a little rain, a little bit of wind, and it's got these largemouth turned on right now. A lot of frogging, some flipping, also throwing, little kitex, things like that. Buzzbait bite early has been good, but really right now you can stay up there tight and just kind of cover some water up and down the river. It seemed to be catching more of the better largemouth, still in the pockets, still in these bays. Some of the river fish, not catching quite the size. I think some of these big females that have kind of hung around, been some, fry garters and things like that hanging around. But man, they've hated a frog for the last couple of days. So that's a good thing in my book.
That's always fun. Okay, in the last 30 seconds, let's touch on Weiss Lake.
About the same, our grass, and I've talked about this the last couple of weeks, our grass is not all around the lake quite as thick and healthy as what Neely is right now, but it's coming along. I think our grass is a couple of weeks behind. A lot of the scattered grass that you can cover early and catch bass in, but as the sun gets up, you're going to have to back out and get on some of that wood cover. Shallow docks, stumps, laydowns, things like that, riprap. You can get back on some of these causeways and some of these rocks and still catch fish. So things are looking up right now. Catching a lot of numbers. It's just if you sit down on that right school and catch some of these big bass and some of these little pockets.
Lee, as always, brother, we appreciate everything. Thanks for the time, and we'll talk to you next week. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, May the 20th. Hey, we're with Josh Herron. We're going to recap the Elite Series on Lay Lake last week just a little bit, talk about what's going on in Logan Martin, too. Josh, so what's your take on the Lay Lake situation over there after that tournament?
Man, it was a grinder, which, it was exactly kind of what everybody thought it was going to be. You couldn't do one thing for an extended amount of time outside of kind of the deal Polonic had, but
Yep.
and it was pretty much a suck fest. There was one shining light. Christy caught a big bag, which was good, but it's kind of hard not to catch a big bag when you catch a 9.5 pounder.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he had good fish to go with it. His other four were 14 plus, so that works out pretty good. But overall, I think it made for a good tournament story, though the fishing was a little bit of a grind, like you said.
Yeah, no, there was a vast amount of stuff going on. It's kind of what we talked about. You got fish from 2 inches deep to 25 feet deep. You had Walters and Hamner down on the bottom end of the lake, jerking, doing the live scope deal. And then you had Christy that was way back in the creek throwing a frog, all the way to Will Davis playing at the dam and mixing in a lot of stuff in the back of the creeks too. So there was some bluegill beds going on. There were still several fish on bed. They were really late. Fry garters played a part. So the lake's pretty beat up right now, and it has been. And
yes, it is.
For the next couple weeks, it's or months, it's not going to get any relief. So I wouldn't expect much better.
No, I hear you. All right, let's turn to Logan Martin. If people want to go fishing there, what should they be looking for?
Man, it's kind of the same deal right now. You've got fish that are up on bluegill beds right now. The spawners are pretty much done at Logan, minus some fish that are way, way up the river. You might still find a few. But you're going to start gearing towards kind of that deal that Walters and them are doing. You're going to be chasing a bunch of fish offshore for the next couple weeks that are really starting to kind of feed back up. And especially the spotted bass, I'm going to try to start stacking weight back on. So you can run around, you can fish. You can still do the spook thing in the morning. You can fish docks once you get the right kind of sun position and all. But there's still going to be a lot of fish roaming right now, just trying to settle into their summertime pattern.
Well, Josh, man, as always, we appreciate all the help and all the insight. We will talk to you again next week, brother. Well, good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, May the 20th. Hey, we're joined by Gentry Gordy, who's going to talk a little bit of Lake Martin and some Jordan Lake fishing. Let's start at Jordan Lake, Gentry. What are you hearing out of there?
Dano, I was thinking about it a while ago. It popped up on my Facebook from a few years ago. Fish tournament up there we won it with like 21 pounds. And of course, a day like that this time of year, I can remember everything we caught our fish on. But it was junk fishing. It was, one, on a long tapered point, football style jig. And it was just, I think we caught one up underneath a dock, one on a brim colored crankbait. It just, the fish are starting to move off. You can still see them cruising, catch them in the grass. It's tough, but they're everywhere. If that makes any sense. You can catch them all
Yeah.
types of ways, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and is it one of those kinds of deals where you can't just sit on a spot and catch fish after fish after fish? You're going to have to move around a little bit and kind of run some patterns, right?
Exactly. Now, this time of year, they really, to me, what I've seen, they're not grouped up offshore, like they get in the summertime and stuff like that. They're kind of just moving out. So, yeah, you got to run different patterns, and you might pull up on a place, pick up one or two, and then move again. Just a run and gun type deal.
All right, let's turn our attention to Lake Martin. What's going on over there?
Not a lot. It's in that funk. But I know we talked about it last week, but if you can, look in the backs of some of those smaller pockets, usually right in the middle, especially if there's some docks in there, and find them brim beds, the brim are still on them, and that's where your bigger largemouth are going to be. Even, big spot occasionally, but, that's tournament fishing. But, the fun thing is, top water plugs, your Demiki rigs for them spotted bass. They're kind of, because the shad are starting to, if you can find the shad at Martin, they're starting to move around a little bit more this time of year. Top water in the morning, your jerk baits, your shaky heads still come into play. If you want to go out there and catch a ton of fish and have fun, they're just not going to be big.
Well, sometimes that's just what a guy wants to do, is go catch a bunch of fish. Gentry, appreciate everything,
Exactly.
man, as always, and we will talk to you again soon.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, that'll do it for our Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, May the 20th. Thanks to the guys for sharing the information that helps us put a few more fish in the boat. And thanks to all of you for tuning in and for paying attention to what we're doing. And, of course, for the good feedback that we get on these fishing reports. We love hearing from you. We love you guys. You are the best part of Bucks Island. Remember, you can always stop by and see us at the shop. We're open Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. And whether you're looking for parts, tackle, service, or you're looking for that new boat, come see us at Bucks Island. We appreciate you more than you know.